We have 3 song sheets tonight, 3 handouts tonight. Good evening, good Shabbos. We shall begin. We'll begin with the Shalom Aleichem on page number 5, in the Siddur, page 5. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu ni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Please now turn to page 11, Lachuna Ranana. Lechuna ranina, lechuna ranina, lechuna ranina, ladonai. Lechuna ranina, lechuna ranina, lechuna ranina, ladonai. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, nekadma fana bitoda. Naria, naria, letzur yishenu, bizmiro naria lo. Lechuna ranina, lechuna ranina, lechuna ranina, ladonai. Lechuna ranina, lechuna ranina, lechuna ranina, ladonai. Naria, naria, litzur yishenu, nikadma fana bitoda. Naria, naria, litzur yishenu, bizmiro naria lo. Lechuna ranina, lechuna ranina, lechuna ranina, ladonai. Lechuna ranina, lechuna ranina, lechuna ranina, ladonai. The English on page number 11. On page 11. Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God, raising our voice in song. Great is Adonai, a greater sovereign than all other deities. God's hands form the earth's deep. Mountain crests, too, are God's work. The sea is God's, for God made it. Dry land was fashioned by God's hands. Come then, let us bow and kneel. Let us bend our knees in the presence of Adonai, who formed us. Arbaim shana kut v'dor v'amarm to'e levavhem v'hem lo yidu drachai asher nishbati v'api im yavon el menuchati. On page 14 on the English side. Bow to Adonai in the glory of this holy place. Tremble before God's presence, all who dwell on earth. Announce among the nations, Adonai reigns. The land is firm and will not be moved. Peoples will be truthfully judged. The heavens shall be glad and the earth rejoice. The sea and its fullness roar. The meadows and all that grows in them exult. Even the trees of the forest shall sing praise as Adonai comes to judge the earth, judging lands with righteousness and peoples with divine truth. Just for a moment, look at that. Heavens shall be glad, the earth will rejoice, the sea, the meadows, the trees, the forest are all interacting. So to whom is this psalm directed? The psalm is directed to the world and us. We need to see ourselves as part of the world as much as a tree, a meadow, a river, an ocean, a mountain. We're all part of the world together. That's what the psalm is. And I think that's why this psalm is here on Friday night, because we're looking at the world. And just for a moment, we've stepped back, just as God stepped back, described in the book of Bereshit, of Genesis, and viewed the world. We are to look back and appreciate. And now we'll turn to one of the song sheets. The first song sheet is a song named Journey.
It's only a journey across a very narrow bridge. It's a journey. You don't know where you're going. Can't hide from it. Don't dare fear from it. Across a very narrow bridge. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher, gesher tzar meho. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher, gesher tzar meho. From every direction there will be roads to choose. And if you're lucky, you'll like the one you use. It's a journey across a very narrow bridge. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher, gesher tzar meho. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher, gesher tzar meho. There will be moments when wrongs seem to be right. You must cross the darkness before you reach the light. journey across a very narrow bridge. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher, gesher tzar meho. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher, gesher tzar meho. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher, gesher tzar meho. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher.
On page 16. This is Psalm 97. Look at the last two stanzas on the English side. "16. Those who love Adonai hate evil. God protects the lives of the faithful, saving them from the hands of the sinful. Light is sown for the righteous, and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name." Light is sown for the righteous. Who's doing the sowing? God. God's described as a farmer, as a gardener. It has an echo of the Garden of Eden piece, but it's a bit more subtle than that. But God is placing seeds of light in the world. For God's own benefit? No. For whose benefit? For us. So imagine that the world is being literally suffused with light, and we are to enjoy that. And God is planting seeds everywhere throughout the universe so that you and I can be illuminated in our life's path. L'Charudi on page 23, the first two stanzas, page 25, the last two stanzas. L'chadodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmiyanu el hamiyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shemo tiferet v'litila lechadodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha ki mekor habracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof maaseh b'machshavat chilo. Lechadodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Yamin. Yamin usmo tiferotzi v'yet Adonai ta'aritzi al yadish ben partzi v'nismecha v'nagila. Lechadodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boli v'shalom ateret balach, gam b'simcha u'v'tzahala, toch emunei am skula, boi chala, lechadadi lekrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela, lechadadi lekrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Remaining standing for a moment, please. Looking at page 27. This is the psalm which is nicknamed the Shabbos psalm for at least 2,000 years. There are some indications it may even be as far back as 3,000 years. Every Friday night and every Shabbos day, Jewish people have said this phrase, this passage. It's identified with the day of Shabbat. And for me, my eyes turn to the conclusion on page 28, these last two stanzas. Tonight we should add the three stanzas. The last three stanzas on page 28. As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear. The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. The righteous are planted in the house of Adonai. The righteous flourish in our God's courtyards. In old age they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no flaw. Why is the psalmist writing that when enemies are about, he hears this message that righteous people flourish and they are strong and lush and beautiful as mighty cedars and life-giving date palms. And furthermore, righteous people are planted in God's own private yard. And righteous people, even when they're very, very old, they're going to be fruitful and fresh and bountiful. What is the psalmist trying to say? And again, the psalm is nicknamed for Shabbos. What is the psalmist trying to say? That if you're righteous, who's in your back pocket? God. Who's in your front pocket? God. You're in God's back pocket. You're in God's front pocket. That's even who still flourish, which means that if we have the confidence to stay the course and be true and loyal and caring, and everybody in this synagogue is true and loyal and caring, then we're going to be attached to something much grander than we can ever imagine. Stay the course. God's on our side. God has our back. And that's associated with Shabbat. The Borchum on page 39a. Baruch hu et Adonai hamavorach. Baruch Adonai hamavorach le'olam vod. And we are seated, please. In the English. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light before darkness and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, living and ever-present God. May your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. El chai v'kayam, tamidim loch aleinu l'olam v'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Before the next piece, if you will, turn to the second song sheet. It's from Beth Schaefer. It's in you. Beth Schaefer is a modern Jewish, we'd say, composer and Jewish spiritual music writer. And this passage, El na rafana lam, comes from the Torah. It means, oh, please heal. But she's applying this to a greater perspective, not limited to somebody of a physical illness, but in a much broader context.
It's in you. It's in me. The power to emerge into the light from the dark. It's in you. It's in you. It's in me. Talk to every fiber of your being with your heart. It's in you. Oh God, give me the strength. I am tired, but I'm listening. Is it in me? The answer's in me. Battling my brokenness, is it in me? The way is in me. El na fa la la, 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 it's in me. The power to emerge into the light from the dark. It's in you. Look inside yourself. Talk inside yourself. Be brave inside yourself. Have faith within yourself. The strength is in yourself. The strength is in yourself. The strength is in yourself. It's in you. It's in you.
Belonging to something much grander than ourselves. The Siddur is reminding us of that every single day, in the morning and the evening. And here in the evening, it's the opening phrase just before the Shema. It's on page 40, the last two lines of the little red arrow on the English side. Do not ever withdraw your love from us, O God. Baruch atah Adonai, who who loves the people Israel. V'ahavatecha tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Page 41. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לוט על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. A few moments of silence on page number 42. Adonai Elohechem emet. On page number 44, it's the Michamocha, and I've said this before, but I want to reiterate it. The traditional text for 2,000 years has at the very top of this little passage had the words, Moses and the people of Israel joyfully sang to you. But this version of the conservative Siddur, which came out about 7-8 years ago, inserted the word Miriam. It's just one word. But it's groundbreaking because it's a testimony to the understanding that Miriam was a leader of the people of Israel as well upon the departure from Egypt. And for us to change this word is much more than adding 5 Hebrew letters. It's altering our conception of how a community moves forward during and in response to crisis. And do we embrace all the possible capacities that we have for leadership and guidance or not? And gratefully, we can and we do. And that's why it excites me every single time I see this little word Miriam on this page. Page 44. Well, it's probably a play off of this. So when you look at the book of Exodus, chapter 15, Maddie asked, why don't we have Aaron? And the answer is that when you look at chapter 15 in Exodus, which is the description of the crossing over the sea, it's written in poetry form. And it's called the Shirah, which means the song of the sea. And the song of the sea begins with, and Moses sang, but then at the end of it, it says, and Miriam, the prophet, sister of Aaron, took her tambourine, and she brought forth all the women after her, and they were dancing with drums and tambourines, and people sang with Miriam. And that's here in the Torah. So, I mean, there are lots of commentaries as to why does it begin with Moses and it ends with Miriam, and historically, and anyway. So there's a lot of energy going on. Imagine enslavement for, as we know, generations, and struggling, and the 10 plagues, and then getting through Egypt, and then you turn around and you see the M1A1 Abrams tanks pursuing you, and all you've got is what you packed, and you know you're going to be crushed by the most powerful army on the planet, and then you cross over the sea, and it's not just a man, but it's a woman who leads you in celebration and exultation and delight and relief and emotional outpouring. And so I think that's why the line that we're about to sing right now is kind of an introduction to the Mi Chamocha, and the Mi Chamocha comes from here. So thank you for the question. Mi Chamocha is on page 44. Well, the first line, because you forgot her name. Umalchuto beratzon kiblu aleihem Moshe uMiriam uvnei Yisrael lecha anu shira b'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam mi chamocha poelim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh norati Lot Osefele Malchutecha Ra'uvanecha Bokeh Yam Lifnei Moshe Zeli Anu V'Yamro Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Voed V'ne'emar Kifad Adonai et Yaakov Ugalo Miar Chazak Mimenu Baruch Ata Adonai Gaal Yisrael. On page 45. In a moment, the Hashkivenu. But for now, I want us to look at the next to last line of the English translation. It's on page 45. It's who spreads the canopy of peace over us. And I don't know why the editors did that, because you and I know the Hebrew word. The word is sukkah. It's hapares sukkat, sukkah. Hapares sukkat shalom. Spreads the sukkah of shalom. What's the definition of a sukkah? It's a hut. And what's the makeup of a sukkah? Right away, as soon as you say sukkah, what do we know about it? Very flimsy. It is bound to fall over. So why would the metaphor of Hashkivenu be something as flimsy and vulnerable as a sukkah of shalom? Why not a fortress? I mean, we sing Ma'oz, Sur on Hanukkah. Ma'oz is a fortress. Why not a fortress of shalom? It's a sukkah of shalom. Ms. Leslie? We gather people together. And the definition of sukkah is also, it's always open enough and broad enough, wide enough to bring anybody in. We always welcome more in. That's the sukkah, welcoming more in. So maybe that's the feature that helps to convey the message of shalom, to have as many people as possible. You disagree?
Yeah.
What's your thought?
Well, I think think it's to remind us that it could be a passing moment that we have peace, or it might be a long-term moment, but it's always fragile.
Peace is always fragile, and it may be a moment, maybe a long-term moment. That's beautifully said. Sukkah is fragile, peace is fragile, and that's why it's the metaphor. Beautiful. Shkoyach.
Oh, absolutely.
You get one too for asking about Miriam. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. The top of page 46. V'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam oti le'olam oti le'olam v'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et ha'aretz v'shamro v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam Uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash shavat vayinafash shavat vayinafash v'shamro b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabam B'omad yivrachiter mechutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael Bagala uv'izman kariv v'imero amen Yehi shemei Rabam mevorach L'olam yalmei olmaya Yitbarach Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitramah v'yinaseh v'yidhadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei dekudesha brechu Le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'yalma v'imiru amen. In a moment, we'll have an opportunity to offer a silent prayer, and those so inclined would rise. The beginning is on page 47, and then the penultimate is on page 51. It's the seventh blessing on page 51. It's the prayer for shalom. And I'm thinking about what Ken just reminded us, that peace is fragile. And the only way peace can be perpetuated, achieved, is by the shared collaboration of as many participants as possible. And that's up to every single one of us to add peace to the world. And if we don't, so maybe that's why the seventh bracha of the Amida is a prayer of shalom, to which we all contribute our own thoughts. We rise if so able, the traditional text, page 47 to 52, or private thought at this time. Page 54. יתגדל ויקרא שמי רבו, בעלמא דברך ירתב ומחותב בחסמימרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבו מבורך, לעולם ליעלמי עלמיה, יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפרסם וגדל שמי קודשו, ברכו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, תאמרו מרמם ואמרו, אמן. תתקבל צלתון דחי קדם אבון די וישמעיה, ואמרו, אמן. יש ואמרו, אמן. עושה שלום ויעשה שלום, עלינו וכסר יאמרו, amen. Today is International Women's Day. It was brought into being in the mid-70s by the United Nations. with your permission, I wish to share my attempt at a poem that I wrote. To the woman who carried us within herself and brought us into this world, to the woman who welcomed us into her heart, even if she did not carry us in her womb, to the woman who nursed us when we were sick and comforted us when we were afraid, to the woman who bandaged our cuts and mended our wounds, to the woman who laughed with us and cried with us, knowing the right time for the right type of tears, to the woman who fed us and the woman who fed others, strangers and neighbors alike, to the woman who volunteered, sharing her heart, her energy, her spirit with the world, to the woman who drew a salary and contributed in other ways to our economy, to the woman who inspired us to learn and grow, achieve and accomplish, to the woman who cared for us, and to the woman who taught us to care for ourselves, to the woman who embraced her family, and the woman who unabashedly and unconditionally hugged any frightened child, to the woman who climbed the corporate ladder and challenged the expectations and cracked the glass ceiling, to the woman who didn't have opportunities and worked 2 jobs in order to make ends meet, to the woman who helped us with homework and the woman who worked so we would have a home, to the woman who snuggled with us and rocked us to sleep, and to the woman who loved us beyond measure but may have not outwardly shown it, to the woman who colored pictures and read to us, and to the woman who never had such a role model but made it clear she loved us just the same, to the woman who said, "I love you," and to the very special one who spoke with hands and eyes and actions, but not words, to the woman who was endlessly patient and soothing, comforting us and everyone nearby, and to the dynamo of a woman who was impatient and unaccepting of constraints by men and clawed and fought to put herself and all females in a place of security, power, confidence, respect, and honor. To the person who cared for us beyond description and did not fit into any mold. To the woman of color and the woman who does not fill in the box labeled ethnicity. To the woman who was a corporate president, an astronaut, a dean of a university, a letter carrier, custodian, composer, musician, or artist, small business owner, or factory worker. To all of you, you are all of our role models, whether on social media or not. And I thank you. We rise, please, the Oleinu. Page 56. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך Malchei Hamlochim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu Noteh Shamayim v'Yosei Haaretz, U'Moshav Yekaro b'Shamayim Mima'al, U'Shchinatu Zo, B'Gavhei Meromim, Hu Eloheinu Ein Od, Emet Malkeinu Efes Zulato, Kakatu B'Torato, V'yadata Yom, V'shevota El Bavecha, Ki Adonai Hu Elohim, B'Shamayim Mimal, V'al Haaretz, Mitachot, Ein Od. Kakatu b'Toratecha, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, v'nemar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yiyeh Adonai echad, U'Shema echad. Please, if so able, remain standing. The Mourner's Kaddish now. Mourner's Kaddish will be on page number 58. And on this Shabbat, if there's one message you can ever say to your friends and acquaintances and neighbors out there in Mobile who have no idea about what you do in synagogue, tell them that your synagogue and synagogues all over the country maintain a calendar of remembering people who died. And it's a specific calendar every week. And our synagogue, which is 130 years old, is perpetuating names of people long gone, and even their descendants may be gone. And we just had a lay pastor come by this past week, and he had a meeting with me, and I showed him a little bit of the shul, and I explained the Yortzeit plaques, and he was very moved to learn that we perpetuate a calendar, and we remember the names of people long gone every single week. And you and I may take it for granted, but please don't. And remember, this is a message of sensitivity and love and caring and respect. And for that message to go out into the world in these days is very appropriate. And so our shul calendar remembers Bertha Cohen, Philip Plotka, Jacob Elias, Rosalie Ross, Judge Alan Lerner, Sarah S. Sanders, Jeanette Beatrice Weiner, Cecile Olinsky Mishkin, Mendel Greenberg, Howard Lee Unger, Tamara Olinsky, Ellis Lupin, Meyer Mitchell, Reverend Simon Chasson, Ida Chayagita Lubel, Leah Gollum, Miriam Schwartz, Lester Halprin, Adolf Kaplan, Trudy Halprin. We remember Robert Schreibman, Bert Meisler, Shirley Buckman, Adele Kearns. Are there any other names to mention this evening? Douglas Halprin? Any other names to mention this evening? Perhaps those at home may be joining us in sharing a name as well. Page 58. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbo. Amen. Be'alma divara chirute bi'amlich malchute. B'chaye chon uv'yom echon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'zaman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shemei rabba mivarach le'olam ololmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitdaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'rechu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran ba'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shalama rabba min shemaya v'chayim oleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Hoseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. And may we contribute to bringing peace into the world. You may be seated. We'll conclude in just a moment with this other song sheet. It's by Debbie Freeman, Light These Lights. But just a reminder, as the catastrophe in Israel continues to unfurl, now 154 days of upside downness throughout Israel and her population. And we hear of gestures or attempted gestures of bringing hostages home. And the world seems largely ambivalent or uninterested in bringing our children, even our babies, home. That's why this chair is here. And that's why these names are here. And of course, since this began to unfold in late November, many hostages did come home, but our names are still here for those who did not. And we are more than guardians. We're guardians of memory and of name and of shared identity. That's who we are. And so too is every synagogue and every community, every congregation, every temple across the United States, across the world. That too is the message that has to go out the next time you speak with a friend and somebody says, what do you all do in synagogue? And you say, well, we have a sacred calendar and remember the names of people who've been members of our synagogue who've been gone for decades, and it continues forever. And we also remember those who are lost to us now, because an attack against one Jew is an attack against the entire Jewish community. These are messages that need to go out at this time. And when we bring our memory into the world, we bring light. The light of care, and the light of love. And we'll conclude now with this song, Light These Lights.
Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy.
Can't wait to see you when you come on back soon. Building's open. The water's warm and inviting. Just dip your toe in, come on back. Until that point, good Shabbos. Please know you're loved and you're cherished. May God bless you.